Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Deja with Twisted Sisters Mojo, and it is time for Tarot Talk. I know we are way long overdue in doing a Tarot Talk. Over the past couple months, we have just been busy and we get sidetracked with other things, other videos, so we haven't done Tarot Talk in quite a while. I could have sworn, and Raven agrees, that we already had done Tarot Talk Six of Wands through the court cards, but for the life of me, I don't know if it got deleted or if, I don't know what happened to it. It just went poof. So normally she would be here doing this with me, but I'm going to go ahead and I am going to knock out the Suit of Wands. We're going to go 6 through 10. And just so I can get back on track, and hopefully when I get Raven over here, we can knock out some more. So let's take a look at the Six of Wands. Now, when we're dealing with the Six of Wands in this particular position, I like to look at the Six of Wands. It's about success. It's about success and completion, and it's also about coming up on top. Whatever the situation is, whatever the problem is, whatever the issue is, the Six of Wands in its upright generally denotes success, completion, and rewards in some way, shape, form, whatever it may be. Now, when we're looking at it in the reverse position, I tend to read this in the reverse position as a need to take a look at your ego. It still denotes success, and it still denotes completion and all of these other positive things. But when it's in its reverse position, to me, it talks about maybe the ego coming into play and letting the success go to your head and forgetting that there are other people around you that may have contributed to your success, to you having accomplished this particular goal. So in its reverse position, it's really about sharing in the glory, if you will. It's really about understanding that you are not that one-man band or one-woman band who did everything by yourself. So it's about the fact that you have dealt with, what is the word I'm looking for? You got where you were because of the people around you. And so when the Six of Wands the Six of Wands pops up in that position, it means to be aware of other contributing factors that have set in and made your success possible. So that's the Six of Wands. When we go into the Seven of Wands, let's see if I can get that in. With the Seven of Wands, we're looking at battles that you're fighting, goals that you're working on, trying to complete. It talks about ambition. It talks about the things that you want to accomplish, and it's all about you rising above and working and doing everything that you need to do. In its reverse position, feed your ambition, but not your ego. So in 6 and 7, both in their upright position and also the reverse position, there is a lot of correspondence within those two cards. They talk about goals, ambitions, success, talks about your ego, talks about humility. And when we're looking at the 7 in its reverse position, it also talks about being grateful for the things that you have. Being grateful for where you've gotten up to this particular point. So it's not always about, hey, I did this, and pat yourself on the back. Yes, you can pat yourself on the back, but keep that patting yourself on the back, and a little level of humility and gratefulness for everything that you have accomplished and what you have in your life. So we're talking about a lot of actions when we're dealing with wands. So yeah, the first two definitely talk about goals, talks about things you want to do, and both generally talk about success and completion within whatever it is that you're trying to do. And both in the reverse position kind of indicate, a need to elevate those around you and be grateful and understanding that you didn't get there by yourself. Now, when we're talking about the Eight of Wands, it's really, really simple. When I see the Eight of Wands pop up, it's all about communication. It's all about hearing news. Now, back in the day, you used to get your news through snail mail. Nowadays, because we are in this massive digital age, a lot of our communication comes through email, comes through social media, comes through the phone. So, you're dealing with those aspects, and generally in its upright position, the communication that you're going to be receiving is going to be of a positive nature. It's going to be happy, good news, that sort of thing. When we're looking at it in its reverse position, the news generally isn't good. Honestly, when the Eight of Wands pops up in its reverse position, it can just flat out say bad news. It can indicate maybe arguments. It can indicate a need to communicate in a more positive, better way. When we're talking about the Eight of Wands and we're talking about relationships, it can either say in its upright, yes, your communication is good, you guys are right where you need to be. In its reverse position, communication is something that definitely needs to be worked on within the relationship. If you're out there applying for a job and you ask the cards, hey, am I going to get this job? And the Eight of Wands pops up in its reverse, chances are that answer is going to be no, or of a negative, I can't even think today. It's going to be no, or it's going to be of a negative nature. There we go. Nature. That's what I was looking for. So whenever, Eight of Wands is really cut and dried, very simple. Communication, either of the positive nature or the negative nature. All right, so we're going to take a look at the Nine of Wands. Let's see. All right, as you can see, this guy looks whipped. He looks beat the hell down. When we're looking at the Nine of Wands, we're talking about the struggle is over. The battle is done. It is time to rest and regroup. It is about just going. And it can also mean that, you have way overextended yourself. It can indicate that maybe you have been fighting for a specific goal, and for good or bad, that battle, that situation is over, and it is going to be a time to rejuvenate for yourself. And it can indicate a need to rejuvenate for yourself. It can also be saying, you have fought this battle, you have tried so very hard, it's time to take yourself out of the fight and realize that maybe this is not something that you need to be fighting for. So, in its reverse position, interestingly enough, in its reverse position, it does have some positive connotations associated with it. When we're looking at the Nine of Wands in reverse, I see it as a card of rebirth. I see it as a card of surrender. When we're dealing with, when it pops up in a romantic context, it talks about primal passion, talks about good sex, talks about the kind of base emotion when we're dealing with a romantic situation. So, depending on what you're reading, who you're reading for, and what the question is, both can indicate very positive situations, but in general, it's about being you're just worn out. You know, whenever it pops up, I'm like, somebody's been busting their butt trying to get something done, and it's time for them to take a step out. So that's if you are looking at the 9 of Wands. And when we get to the 10 of Wands, I see this one a lot in readings. When I'm at work and I'm doing readings, this tends to be a card that pops up quite frequently across the board. Now, when we're looking at the 10 of Wands, you see this guy, he looks just like he's done. He has been carrying the weight of all of these issues, of all of these problems of his life, and he has completely just sunk under the pressure. I call this the burnout card. When the 10 of Wands pops up in this general position, it indicates to me that the person is just tired. They have really just taken on responsibilities that may not necessarily be theirs to take on. Or maybe they've taken on all of this stuff thinking that they could handle it, and they've just hit burnout stage. They're just tired. So when you look at the 10 of Wands and it's upright, and it's quite frankly, it means the same thing. It doesn't matter what the context of the question is. Romance, work, money, whatever have you. When you're looking at the 10 of Wands, it is the burnout card. It means the person is just done. Like, pack your bags, done. Now, in its reverse position, I tend to look at it as someone who is still in burnout phase, but you know what? They're in burnout phase because they let themselves be put in burnout phase. It's almost a card of martyrdom. Someone who will complain about the burdens that they carry, who will complain about the situation that they're in. But you know what? No is not a bad word. Someone that is got the 10 of Wands in its reverse position needs to know how to say no. They need to know how to set their boundaries, because a lot of the things that they're taking on, they've done willingly, and now they're bitching about it. So when I look at the 10 of Wands in reverse, I consider that kind of like a martyr card. And it really it doesn't really depend on the subject. Again, romance, money, family, whatever have you. The burdens that this person has taken on, they did so willingly, and now they're bitching about it. And they're complaining about it, that it's too much. So generally, if the 10 of Wands pops up in a reading for a client, I tell them, you really need to reevaluate why you're doing what you're doing. Are you doing it because you really want to? Or are you doing it because you feel like you have to and you're responsible for that? So you really got to look at the question and how much responsibility you're taking in on the burdens that you're carrying. So when you deal with 10 of Wands, generally it's about the weight of the issues in your life that you've taken on. So I've kept it short. I've kept it sweet. This has been Deja with Twisted Sisters Mojo. This has been Tarot Talk. And do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, leave us a thumbs up. And I just want to say thank you and welcome to all of our new subscribers. I love you guys, and we will see you on the next video.